So if you now know how to put a quilt together, then probably the next stage is learning what colours go together, how to choose the fabrics that go in your quilt, how to figure out those colours that make up those quilts. How do you do that? You need one of those, which is a colour wheel. Where do you get one of those? You can get them from Amazon, possibly your local quilt shop, definitely a local art shop, and sometimes free on the front of quilting magazines. But how do you use them to figure out the colours in your quilt? I've got you covered in this video. I'm keeping this really top line for you because I don't want you to get overwhelmed, but I do want to give you just enough confidence when you go shopping for fabric, you know which colours go together. So I do hope this video helps you. I am Kim, this is Quilt with Kim. Let's go work out which of these colours go beautifully together. When we're choosing colours for our quilt, this colour wheel really becomes our best friend. But how does it work? Let's have a look at it. If you cast your mind back to primary school, you'll remember that we have primary colours, and they are your blue, your yellow and your red. And they're primary colours because we can't mix them with anything else. But when we start mixing them together, we get our secondary colours. So blue mixed with red becomes violet. Red mixed with yellow becomes orange. Yellow mixed with blue becomes green. Those are our secondary colours, and then we can go again into our tertiary colours. I know, I am not testing you, I absolutely promise. But when we mix our green and our blue, we get blue-green. When we mix our green and a yellow, we get a yellow-green. When we mix a yellow and an orange, we get a yellow and an orange. I mean, who makes this stuff up? Honestly, it's I think you can probably figure out the rest. So you can see that one colour, or hue as they're officially known, one of these colours blends very much into the other one as they go round this colour wheel. All right, so just bear in mind that colours aren't delineated like these are. That's a very long word for a Sunday morning when I'm recording this. They don't have strong lines between them. Often they just blend through, and in fact, if you happen to be an artist and you paint and you add a little bit of water or a bit of another hue, you'll find that you get lots and lots and lots and lots of these colours, if you like, going round your wheel. But how does this work? Because when we're figuring out colours for our quilt, we need to work out which of these go together. Now, if you look at the middle of your colour wheel, you'll find that you've got all these little symbols and this strong arrow in there. There are various colour combinations that work. I am only going to take you through, in a very top line way, just 4 of these colour combinations. I'm not going to go massively in depth because you will get completely overwhelmed. Colour theory, I love it, and I could go on for hours. I do have a whole masterclass on it, but you just want to get an introduction to it to understand it and then start deep diving into it. So let's have a look at those 4 colour combinations. So first up, what I will say is, from my time when I had my shop, that blue is the most chosen colour. It was the most popular fabric colour in my shop, and in fact on my online shop it still is the most popular colour that is chosen. So if we did an entire quilt just in blue, or blue and whites, or blue and blacks, or blue and greys, then that will be called a monochromatic quilt, because it is just one colour, and you could decide to do that. So just like this example that I'm just popping up on screen just now, if I can point in the right direction, you can see here this is just one single colour quilt that this person has chosen, and that may be your look and feel of it. There are ways to make that more interesting and not flat and boring. I will cover that in another video. This is not for this. I just need you to start stepping into how you figure out those colours, how you choose their colours. But if we start looking at our blue and then go either to the left or either to the right, just 3 or 4 colours, you can see that if I do that, we can have blues and up to our greens and maybe our yellow green. We can see here we've got a few of the same types of colours together. So we've got blue and its next door neighbour, which is the green, the yellow green, the blue green round here. Now when we do that, that's called an analogous. In fact, I can never pronounce it properly. So if you know how to pronounce it, let me know, but I'm going for analogous. If you think about it as your next door neighbours, your friends, and if you get that kind of colour scheme going on, you can pretty much guarantee a nice, harmonious, nice, easy, relaxed colour scheme for your quilt. It doesn't have to be blues and greens. If we go the other way, we have something very interesting going on here because we've got our blues and our violets and even our red violet going on here. So that let's bring that into the middle. That gets an interesting look and feel, completely different to there, but nonetheless still a harmonious colour scheme because these are friends, because they live next door to each other. So if for any 4 or 5 colours that are next to each other on the colour wheel, you can choose to make a nice harmonious colour scheme. All right, and you can see on this colour wheel here, it's handily got what's called Analogous. There's a little bracket, so as I turn it round, I can choose any 3 or 4 colours that are next to each other to make myself a nice harmonious colour scheme for my quilt. So you can be pretty safe when you go into a quilt shop and you're auditioning your fabrics that if you picked this lot together, they will go very nicely together. If I go around this side, I might have greens and yellows and oranges, and that would go very nicely together. So think of your friends, your next door neighbours. That's a nice, easy relationship going on. But what if you want a bit of excitement and a bit of tension and a bit of, oh la, how exciting is that? Now we need complementary. So if we're not going to have next door neighbours, we want the one that's opposite, the one that lives over town, the one that's a bit exciting to meet. And think of it as your lover. Yeah, bit of excitement, bit of late night shenanigans going on. That's what you're after. You want the colour opposite. So if I am looking at my oranges as I'm over here, and we look over the other side and we've got our blues and our purples going on here, our violets, and when you get those two working together, that becomes a really exciting looking quilt. Now, what you wouldn't do is have those in the even amounts. You don't want them in same amounts in your quilt. You would go for 80% of one of the colours, 20% of one of the others. Did I say 80? Yeah, 80 and 20. You really want a small amount of your complementary colour. What it's there to do is to give you that little frisson, that little excitement, that little bit of, what's the word I'm thinking of? A bit of ooh la la, a bit of, I can't think of any words. You know what I mean. That little bit of excitement that you want. So go for 20% of the opposite colour that you've chosen, and it works all the way round the wheel. So if I'm on green, we want a little bit of red showing up. All right, and you may not have thought of this, but it absolutely works. Now, if I look at this in a bit more detail, you'll see on this wheel we've got something called a, can't point and show, a split complementary. Let's turn that around so you can see, a split complementary. So what that means is we've got our complementary, which is the direct opposites. But if we look at the bottom of our little triangle here on the split complementary, you can see we've got 3 colours which are chosen here. And they're all opposite, if we follow the triangle up, to the green at the top. Can you see that? So if I lay that down. So let's just say we want green as one of our colours, and we've got these 3 down here. So what I might do is choose these 3 colours here as the main colours of my quilt, but then pick out green as a bit of an accent. All right, and lift that up in like 20% of the colours of your quilt, and that will help to lift it. if you have a look at this example that's just popping up on screen now, you'll see that this lady here, I think it's a lady, has got a split complementary colour scheme here with the blues and the purples. So she's got the blues and the purples that we've got here, the blues and giving us the sea there, and then she's got the sun coming up, which is the orange over here. And you can see how that sun, not sun coming out, could be sun setting, as it's all purples, but as the sun sets, you can see that that's really popping out of the quilt there. So the split complementary is a really useful combination to have and makes any quilt look really interesting. All right, so that's 4. So we've got our monochromatic, which is any single colour mixed with white or blue, or any single colour mixed with white or grey or black, get my words in. We've got Analogous, which are our friends and they live next door to each other. We've got our lover living across town, and that gives us excitement and interest. We've got a version of that where we've got split complementary. So let's just say that's 3.5. A split complementary. That still gives us that excitement and interest. And then our 4th one is called Triadic. And you'll see that there's a big equidistant triangle, go me for knowing the answer to that, in the middle there. And as we turn it around, you can see that the points of the triangle point to different colours on our colour wheel. So if I just hold that further up a little bit. So at the moment we've got red violet, we've got this yellow orange, and we've got this blue green. So if you got those 3 working together, you would have a triadic colour scheme, and they make for quite a dynamic looking quilt. But again, what you don't want to do is have everything in the same balance. You really want to go for like a 70% of your main colour, then a 20% of a secondary colour, and then a 10% of the last colour, whichever sort of combination you want. But I would go for a 70, a 20 and a 10, that kind of balance. And that triadic scheme will work for you. And whichever way you go round the wheel, the same thing will happen. So we've got blue violet, we've got yellow green, and we've got a red orange. That would make for a really good looking quilt there. So what you would do is when you're going into a quilt shop, you'd decide, or when you're starting your quilting project, you would decide, well, what's the main colour that I want to start with? Pick a colour. Just, if you don't know, just start with something. Pick a colour. Doesn't matter what at this stage. Unless you've got something in your mind, just start with something. And then take your colour wheel with you and go, okay, well, let's say I've just chosen red because I'm standing looking at the red fabrics. What am I going to mix that with? Let's play with my colour wheel and go, okay, well, what's the opposite of my red? That's green. Do I like that? Can I think of something for that? What about if I did a split complementary? Now that looks a bit more interesting. What if I did a triadic? Let's do that. Let's see what comes up. So we've got red, it goes to blue. That's your primary colours. That could be quite strong and in your face, but could work depending on the balance you've got. So can you see how now we've got our colour wheel really helping us when you go shopping for fabric? And maybe as you're looking at this and you're thinking, I've got this pattern in mind, I'm looking at this, I don't like the Analogous because it doesn't work for me, but I really like this spot of green, and oh look, there's a nice green fabric over there, I could bring that in and have that in a little spot as an accent colour. And then you can start seeing how they start working together using your colour wheel as you're auditioning or looking for your fabrics and trying to buy your fabrics. So I am going to leave that there. I just wanted this as a little taster session on how your colours work together, how you figure out what colours work together, and really your colour wheel is very much your friend on that. If you've got questions, please pop them in the comments below. If you'd like a bit more about colour theory, let me know and I'll answer some questions. If you'd like some information on the masterclass, let me know as well, and I'll let you know about that. But I hope that has helped for now and give you a little bit more confidence in choosing the colours for your quilts. I will look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.